think we should request those trees from the other week to come back permanently, right? Okay, so we did a lot of balance in the last session. And so please keep, bringing that into your day. We're going to focus less on that because we've done a lot of it. So I kind of feel, throughout your day, just finding those movements, perhaps. Do you remember we were kind of transferring weight and shifting across? So we're going to be working on a lot of stability and hips over the next 6 weeks of lower back, which I always do. Okay, let's just bring the feet in plumb. Let's find your awareness. Remember, we've done this before. Picking up the toes, spreading the toes out and dropping them down. Good. Okay. And then taking your awareness back to the heel. Now, see when you take it back to the heel, does the pressure get lighter on the pads of the feet? That's the toes. Can you bring it back so that you find equal pressure underneath the heel and the balls of the feet and the pads of the toes? Does that require you to bend your knees a little bit or just soften them? Or do you find you quite naturally stand with the knees pushed back? See if you can find a little bit of softness. Does it feel like it engages around the pelvis a little bit? And can you draw up from the floor? So your weight is pushing down, but you're lifting yourself up into the pelvis. And then up the spine towards the shoulders. Let's broaden through the collarbones. Send the collarbones to either side of the room. And notice how that then pops the head on top. Have you found your weight moving now more onto the outside edges of the feet? Can you find yourself finding that? A gentle push down onto the pads of the big toes. Or do you find you go the other way? That's the big toes and the outside edge of the feet. Good. And now let's top this off by expanding through the collarbones a little bit more by rotating the palms of the hands over. You can drop the tops of the arms back down to the body, but also so that we're not holding tension. Just let's take a pause there. See what your breath is doing while you're standing here. See where the mind goes. Do you remember we were talking about those distractions before Christmas? That, you'll hear a sound or you'll smell a smell or you'll get a, feel a sensation on the skin or something, and the mind goes. And just noticing how long it takes to bring it back. Taking the awareness to the point at the nostrils and the upper lip. Just seeing how the air passes over that place. Do you find when you take your awareness to the movement of the breath, do you find it increases the depth of the breath, or does it make it a bit more shallow? Just noticing how that plays out for you. You find when you stand like this, maybe you find it's easier to really take the breath around the torso. Can you feel the rib cage moving side to side and forward and back as you inhale? But less so up and down, perhaps, like back of the shoulder. Or maybe more like that. Just seeing if you can find all sorts of movements so that we keep the muscles around the rib cage nice and flexible for our breathing, so that we can expand the breath when we need to. And it feels easy. Sometimes, if it's been a bit busy, stressful, you get a bit stuck around the shoulders, around the ribs, and around the pelvis. Okay, without thinking about it too much, let's bring the feet quite close together. If you can keep your balance with the inside edges touching, do that. If not, have a little bit of space. Good. And we're going to turn the right foot 45 degrees out. I'm going to drop the hands and bring them to the heart. Now, this is good if you want to stay like this. Keep expanding the collarbones, which might mean the elbows go out the side. If you're quite comfortable, you can let the arms come apart and you can take them to a wide V. If you've got lots of mobility and space in the shoulders, I'm going to bring them up higher. I need to have mine a little bit out, and I always notice just feeling, let the palms turn towards each other if you can, rotate them in. Notice if one shoulder is definitely tighter than the other. Notice if they get tired as soon as they get tired. Feel free, drop them down, bring them heart, just a cactus. Bring them up again when they've had a rest. Now, while you're here, move this around. See how the balance is playing out. See what's happening with the balance. Where has the pelvis gone? You're finding your bottom's kind of heading away from you. Can you slightly draw the hip bones up towards the rib cage? And you take another really nice big deep breath here. How does it play out with one foot turned out in what we call the simple warrior one? When you've got the feet together and you're quite still, can you feel the gentle movement as the body tries to realign itself? Let's exhale and bring the hands all the way back down. And if you need to give them a shake out, if the shoulders are feeling a little bit like the blood's run out of them, move them around. Let's move that right foot back and just readjust yourself here. How does that feel to have both feet? So we're just working into sensation so that we get back into our bodies again, and that we start to pick up. So you'll be picking it up really quickly now, because you've done it already in the past. And the body and the mind does start to remember. So remember, we're creating those neural pathways, keeping the brains healthy and active. Now, so the other foot's now going to turn out. So there'd be the left foot, just 45 degrees. And again, if you want to, hands to heart. If it's comfortable, if your shoulders have had enough, keep them down. Cactus is good. Or a nice wide V. So you play around with where your hands want to be. See if you can keep those palms facing. So we are here for 30 seconds. So it's not a torture position, a stress position. Make sure you do move those shoulders. So palms face towards each other. Soften the shoulders where you need to so that you know they're not coming up towards the ears. Let the elbows come out to the side. Simple warrior one, Virabhadrasana. And notice what's happening with the pelvis. Are you getting tired and it's heading away from you? Can you gently draw those hip bones up towards the rib cage? Notice the shuffle around the ankles, feet, particularly if you've got anything going on in an ankle or a foot. Notice if it's playing out. And obviously adjust it. Let's not work within any pain. You want to work in the areas that feel comfortable. Okay, just take another breath there. And on the exhalation, bring the hands down. And bring the foot back in, make some space. Just give those shoulders and feet a little bit of a wiggle around. Having told you all to get a break, I've not got myself. So we're going to grab the block when you're ready. Can I grab anyone else a block? Anybody else can I grab anything for? Okay, so grab your brick, please, and let's place it lengthways. So the two long edges, just above the knees. So you've just got a little bit of engagement now. We're not squeezing, but we don't want the block to drop. So we just know it's there. So the body has to, the muscles have to work or have to be switched on in order to keep that. Okay, so we're going to do Utkatasana, the chair pose. So sometimes called horseman's if you've done it before. Okay, we're going to settle the hips back. Now keep drawing those hip bones up towards the rib cage rather than pushing the bottom back, which can kind of create problems for the lower back. Hip bones to rib cage. Now, as you sink, maybe you can lift the arms. If the arms have done enough, float them away or just head them out in front of you. What we want to try and avoid is the kind of lifting through the shoulders. So we want the arms to lever themselves up. Now notice where the weight has gone in the heels. That's okay, but spread the toes out as well. Good. Just going to be here for another breath. We're just warming up those muscles and exhale. Push the floor away to rise. So notice how you're lifting up. So let's try and push the floor away. And again, as we sink down for the next one, I'm just going to do 3 here. Sink yourself away. Watch that kind of movement backwards with the weight. So you might overbalance. You want to spread those toes out. Good. Take another breath there. Gently soften the shoulders. Make sure if the shoulders are kind of rising up, drop the arms, float them away. It's absolutely fine to do that. We're working here with thighs. Remember, hip bones towards rib cage and your balance, your stability. And then push the floor away and rise. Good. Last one. Same thing. Exhale, sink it down. Good. One more time. Pause here, notice the breath. Good, lovely. Keep another breath. Lovely. And then push the floor away. Really see how you push the floor to lift yourself and curl back out. Good. Grab your block. So we're going to do warrior 2. So we're just going through all the basics that we've done before. So give the hips a wiggle if you need to. Let's step the left leg all the way back. Okay, so it's not completely open unless that's better for your hip. It's kind of a 45-degree again. Front knee bends. Okay, turn to the side. That knee kind of comes over the top, not too much extension, keeping it over the top. So it doesn't have to be a huge dip down, but whatever you feel is comfortable. If you start to overbalance, you want to take that back foot towards the side of the mat, because what you've done is put yourself on a tightrope, which is fine if your balance is good, okay? We're going to pop the block in the middle just to start. And let's settle the torso before we use the arms. Okay, so what does that mean? What I'm trying to work, so everyone kind of slightly turn to the, so you're going to this place. So rather than looking to the front, you're open to the side. You're all looking towards the side of the wall. Everyone's body's going there. Back leg is straight, front knee is bent. So you're pushing out of both feet. That's it. Now lifting the crown of the head, open the chest. Good, so you're sideways on. Lovely. Okay, see where your weight is distributed. You want the torso to be right in the middle of your legs. So it's a, so rather than moving forward, you want to bring your weight up and bring it back so that you're in the middle. Just have a little look at your knee. If you turn to look down, you kind of want just to see the big toe in front of that knee. Okay, and then rotate back to the side. Good. Take the hands in front of you, cross them over like you're taking a jumper off. Uncurl and try not to let that torso move. So we're keeping stability here. Can you squeeze that back left glute? That's it. Just to pick you up a little bit. That's it. And then drop the hands down. Cross them across in front of you. Now, like you're grabbing the front of the jumper, uncurl. That's it. Now gaze down that front right middle finger. That's it. Let's go back to that nostril breathing. Being aware the space from the upper nostril. Good. Yeah. So from here, I'm just going to suggest one or two of you look down at your knee. Has it collapsed to the middle? Can you open? So this is really good for knee strength. You want to open and try and encourage it to track the foot. And we notice that there's something going on in the hip when we find it rotated in. Good. Lovely. Let's drop the hands. If you can keep the legs and the torso where they are, reach down, pick up your block. Take it under the front elbow, side of the rib cage, squeeze it in. So forearm, elbow to wrist. That's it. Now, take the top arm and let's lean forwards. Take the right elbow towards the right knee without collapsing forwards, right elbow. Can you feel that length out of the side of the left hip? Push the feet down. Lovely. And push down to rise up. So what you might find here, okay, so there's a little bit of, we want to keep the legs really still as you do that. Let's try it one more time. Okay, so just taking the elbow down. Think about that front right hip bone heading backwards to the left hip bone so that the hips stay moving backwards slightly. And then push the floor away to rise up. Good. How did that feel? A bit better. Let's just take it to the other side and pick the front arm up. Now, same thing, except this time the back left hip bone is moving towards the front right one. As you take a little stretch here, and you're opening the right side of the rib cage from the hip. So the right knee stays a little bit bent, still as it was over the ankle. We haven't changed that. The torso stays. Lengthening backwards. Good. And bring that all the way back to center. Okay. Let's pop the block down on the floor. Rotate on the back foot if you can and turn to face the top of the mat. Now soften gently because you're going to step forward if you can. Lovely. I'm going to move around so that I don't turn my back to you, but we're going to step the right foot back and set yourself up in the same way. So right heel goes back. We don't want to turn it out fully. That can be quite strong on the hip. Obviously, if that works better for your hips, do that. But I think it's a little bit more structurally sound to close that foot off. Bend the front knee, checking for rotation inwards and whether it comes over the top of the foot or not. That's it. Obviously, any knee pain, give me a shout and I'll walk around. Lovely. Let's just rotate, take the jumper off a couple of times. So opening out, and then you gaze down that front left finger, middle finger. Yeah. And again. That's it. Just bring it up like that. And then bend the front knee. That's it. So we keep you upright. Soften. Keep this up. That's it. You can turn the palms up just to soften the shoulders. Lovely. Great. And then grab your block. And we're going to do the same thing. So let's pop it under the front elbow to wrist. Squish it against the rib cage. Now, if it was a bit much, pop that up. You know, if the shoulders are getting tired, place it on the lower back. And you want to try and keep the lower half of the body stable. So think about it moving from that front hip to the back hip. You're opening out, lovely, and then push the floor away to stand up. And we should still have, come back up to standing, that's it, push the floor away, and you should, that's it, still have this stability and relationship to the floor. And then put the block onto the other side, and we'll go reverse. That's it, so gently squeeze the block into the rib cage with that forearm. And then notice if it's a little tight through the rib cage. Notice if there's a bit of lifting up and out of the hip that's going on. That's it. and bring it all the way back to center. Lovely. Straighten those legs. Swivel it round. Oh, sorry. Swivel the back foot around. That's it. And if you can, step it forward. Good. Lovely. Place the block up at the front of the mat. Yeah. And we're going to step once more that left foot back, right foot forward, not too far. This time warrior one. So actually the foot faces a little bit more up towards the top left-hand corner of the mat. And again, if you start to wobble, lose your balance, open it out to the side. You don't have to be on the tightrope unless you're working with that. Now, front knee will bend. So warrior one, arms go up. Remember, when we take the arms up, it's not from the shoulders. Let's think about where the shoulder blades are and move from those shoulder blades. Lever them up. Lovely. Inhale here. Fingertips up to the sky. And as you exhale, let's slide the elbows. I'm going to face you. Elbows down and out to the side. Good. Inhale. And as you exhale, lift the heart and gently push the backs of the hands away from you, behind you. That's it. So you've got this kind of gentle kind of cobra business going on. And as you exhale, next exhale, you're going to dive forward to your block. Fingertips to the block. So the block needs to be right by the toe. It doesn't have to be too far in front. It can be on the inside. And then push the floor away. Use your hydraulics. Push the floor and uncurl through the feet, the legs, the pelvis, back up to standing. Straighten the front leg as you go. And exhale, let's sink that front knee. Now, hip bones up towards rib cage. Exhale. Inhale here. And as you exhale, slide the hands down to cactus. Inhale. As you exhale, lift the heart and gently push the backs of the hands away. Good. And on the next exhale, let's curl it down. So this is a nice warrior one vinyasa. We call the vinyasa is literally just a flow. Last one, push the feet to the floor. Use your hydraulics, uncurl through the pelvis. So pelvis tucks under and you curl it up rather than drawing up through the lower back. Arms all the way up. Straighten that front leg and exhale, sink it down, soften the shoulder. Inhale here. And as you exhale, arms out to cactus. Warrior one, cactus. Inhale. Exhale, lift the heart. Inhale, lift the heart. And exhale, curl it down. Now hands to the block. Tuck the chin in. That's it. Take a fold forward there. Move the block so it's comfortable. Draw the right hip slightly backwards. That's it. So you're working gently through that lower back, through the hamstrings. Good. And then think about how you're going to uncurl. So keep that hip drawn backwards as you uncurl. Now notice how that hip drawn backwards, you've got a little bit more push through the front foot. See if you can also push through the back foot. Hip bones come forward and you uncurl it up. Lovely. Let's step it forward. Step it back. Okay, so back foot's kind of facing forward, but slightly turned out, okay? Just to give the hips something to coordinate themselves or move themselves around. Good, inhale, straight front leg. Exhale, bend the front knee. Now, when you bend the front knee, notice how there's a tendency to move forward slightly. You want to tuck the pelvis slightly so that you lift, and you're using the glutes at the back there. We're switching, firing, exhale, arms to cactus. Inhale, and as you exhale, lift the heart, gently push the backs of the hands away from you. Good. And then on the next exhale, you're diving forwards. Make those legs work for you. Make the pelvis support you. And then you're going to soften that front knee to uncurl yourself all the way back up to standing. Inhale, and exhale, sink the front knee. Inhale, front knee bent. And exhale, slide the hands to cactus. Good. Inhaling here, exhaling, lift the heart. Inhale with the heart lifted. And exhale, let's curl it forward. Good. Lovely. And roll yourself up one more time. Arms to the sky, the front leg straight, and exhale, soften into a warrior one. Body should be getting used to this now. Exhale, arms to cactus. Inhale, cactus. And exhale, Lift the heart, take a lovely sense of back bend, opening. And on the next exhale, curl yourself all the way forward. Now, when you're forward here, use your block, draw that left hip slightly backwards. Left hip, that's it. Slightly backwards. Good. Now, using that rotation back, well, that sense of drawing backwards to uncurl yourself. It's maybe playing into the hamstring quite a bit. So just bend the knee to support you so that you don't overdo it there. And curl yourself, let the hips tuck under you. Come all the way back up to standing and step to the front of the mat. Good. We're going to, I'm going to challenge you here. We're going to place that block between the thighs. Inhale, arms to sky. Hopefully you're getting a bit warmer now. Exhale, soften, curl yourself, pull yourself all the way down. If the hands don't make it to the floor, place them on the fronts of the shins and then soften the knees so that the hands make it down, because we want to have the hands on the floor and we want to scoot those feet all the way back. So you come into a block, supported kind of block, downward facing dog. Don't worry about the heels. Heels can be lifted. You want to lengthen those hips away. Good. Lovely. We're going to pause here for another breath. And then we're exhaling. Drop both knees to the floor. Sink yourself back to child's pose. We're going to take a couple rounds of that. So sink the knees to the floor. Lengthen the arms away. Leave the block where it is. Let the shoulders soften. Good. Take a breath. Inhale. And on the exhale, start to uncurl again. Plant the hands, tuck the toes under. Now remember, when we come up to down dog, we want to keep the hips low. We want to push through the feet and just lengthen through the legs so the back is already in its position when we start that. Lovely. Take another breath here. If it gets too much for the shoulders, please take half down dog, which is knees on the floor and their arms lengthened away. Exhale, drop the knees down, sink to your child. Good. Lengthen those arms. Let's take a little release for the arms. Let's pop the elbows down if possible and take palms together in prayer over the top of the head. Fingertips pointing to the sky. Good. Lengthening out underneath the armpits. So can you get the hands over the top of the head? That's it. Lovely. Good. And then let the hands come back flat on the floor. Lengthen the arms away, push the hips away, knees hover, and uncurl from the legs. Lovely. Keep the head tucked under, really nice. Walk yourself around a bit here so that the heels have a chance, so that the legs have a chance. Heels don't need to come down to the floor though, particularly first day back. Good, lovely. We're just going to move the hips. We're going to soften the knees a little bit here. You're going to so bend the knees here, and we're just going to roll the hips across to the right and then lift them up to the sky and then drop them down gently to the left. So the hips are taking a bit of a circle here. Roll them one side to the other. So you're kind of using knees or using feet, and obviously if it's sore for a foot or an ankle, please be aware of that. Bring them back to center and take a couple to the other direction. Good. And if you're done, or it didn't work like that, release, drop it down to the floor. Good. Child's pose for a moment. Reach it out. If you liked that, elbows to the floor and fingertips to the sky. It's, if you like that one, it's a good one to do if you've got a chair or a sofa. You put the elbows up on that and you can get really a good sense of length underneath from the armpit to the elbow. Great. Okay, let's release the hands down, and I'm going to invite you to spread the belly on the floor. Now, we're going to take the elbows down like you're coming into a Sphinx pose, but we are going to move a little bit. Now, don't worry about this. We're going to move onto this floor. It doesn't look too dirty, but I'd like us to get a whole body sense of rolling. So I'm going to draw the left knee up, place the left hand down and lift. And you're going to then allow yourself just to roll. I've got a stage behind it. So you're going to just roll yourself around and open yourself out to that side and then come all the way back. Now use that left hand to pick yourself up each time. So actually, I think we did it before with the right hand going underneath and then rolling. And then coming back and rolling around. Good. So it might be a little tough on a thigh or a shoulder. So please be, use a blanket underneath you if that's better. We're just going to do this a couple of times. Quite no draft underneath the stage. I don't know what's down there. Okay. And as you lift yourself up, you can lengthen the belly out. Have you done that in the last 6 weeks, 4 weeks? Oh, it does, isn't it? Thank you. I'll do that. We're going to go to the other side. So I'd like you just to roll onto your back and then roll all the way over. And don't worry if you need to shift yourself back onto your mat. I'm going to shut the door. Thank you, Judy. Good. And then repeat it a couple of times to that side. So you draw the right knee in, use that right hand just to open yourself out. I know, but it's a really good one for using the whole body. And we don't do this. We don't roll around enough. And it's good for all those. I invite you to do it on your carpet at home. Now the Christmas tree is gone, exactly. Okay, just roll around. It's so good for us. Bring it back to center. The dogs love it too, by the way. Yeah. And the kids, any age. We all need a blanket for next. Still on your belly, but what I'd like to do is just have a bit of extra kind of awareness underneath belly. If you've got 2 blankets, even better. And we're literally just placing that in the belly area. So there shouldn't be any discomfort, okay? If you had a big breakfast, maybe less of a bulk. Okay. Arms are going to come out. So we're going to do a cobra, but we're going to do a nice gentle cobra for our shoulders, right? Nice wide arms. I've got mine kind of middle of, corners of the mats are kind of in the middle, but I don't have long arms. So if you've got longer arms, you're going to want to stretch them out a bit more. And let's just lengthen there. Let the belly rest on that blanket. Can you let go? So that's really tricky to let go in the belly. Toes can be tucked under, or maybe you can head them away. Okay. Lovely. Now, just think about what you're doing with the neck. You might have done a little squidge backwards. Let's see if we can extend the head. So we get this sense that the crown of the head is long all the way to the tailbone. Now, if you're getting an ache in the lower back, or this is hard work, you need to lower and spread the hands. Use the hands as support. Okay. We're using upper back, mid and upper back muscles. Anything in the lower back, please let me know. Or lower. Good. So nice and long here. Good. Let's elbows drop. Let the chest and the forehead drop down. We're going to do this again. We're going to lift up again, push the belly gently down, and then draw it away from the floor. So you kind of use your tummy muscles to pick you up a little bit, but let's use the hands to support that so it doesn't become too much of that kind of to bring you up. Now, can you draw the belly now away from the floor and pick your left foot up? Flex the left foot and point it. And flex and point. Does it make a difference to how you're feeling this? You can keep the foot still, either pointed or flexed. Can you feel it a little bit more like inside the hip bone, the front of the hip bone? So like that stability muscle that connects in there. Yeah. Let's just see if we can switch that on a little bit, or just see if there's a discrepancy with the other side. And let's lower that foot down. If you need to take a rest in between, let's take a rest. Move the hips a little bit if it was aggravating at all. And then lift yourself up again. Draw the belly away from the floor, lengthen the arms, open out the chest, and let's pick the other one up and do the same thing. And you may not feel so much. So it's interesting. It may be your weaker side, or it may be the side that's really tight that was, you'll know because you'll have felt it before. You'll know if you're a bit stronger or weaker on one side. Perhaps this side you're not feeling anything, or perhaps you are and you didn't on the other. Or perhaps they both feel the same. It's just about noticing, about getting an awareness of how we're doing, what's going on. Good. And then lower that down. Good, lower yourself down. Okay. And just gently roll onto one side, just move the hips a little bit. And we're going to, those blankets, you're just going to roll. And we're going to put a really nice roll all the way from the pubic bone upwards towards the kind of breastbone. And okay, and we're going to do the same thing, but we're actually just going to stay here. So now we've got a bit more lift, maybe a bit more pressure. You might want to draw the belly away and lengthen. Now, if it's getting too much, drop the elbows. Yeah, but if you feel you can still lightly use those back muscles, keep them, or you can move between the two. So this is just lifting you up a little bit higher. That's it. Squeeze the glutes, draw the belly away. That's it. Lovely. And on the exhale, let's lower yourself down. Good. And uncurl, push back to child's pose. Settle down in child. Good. All the way to your child's pose. And if you want, you can use that blanket underneath the forehead here. Let's take the hands alongside the feet. Soften through the shoulders. This is a nice one if you've used the shoulders quite a lot. Great. Okay, I'm going to uncurl up onto the knees. And we want a blanket and a mat beside you. And you're going to roll onto your back, please. So all the way down onto your back. Okay, so the block is going to go those two long edges once more between the knees, or just above the knees. And then plant the feet. You might want to bring the heels a little bit closer in. We're going to do a few low bridges, and we're also going to have a hold here. Okay, so please use the blanket if you need it underneath the back of the head. Okay, it can be quite far back for some people, particularly if you've got a neck issue. So make sure you support yourself where you need it. Okay. Okay. We're going to do very low bridge to start with. So you're not squeezing the block, but it's there, and the muscles have to engage and switch on to make sure it doesn't drop. So we're going to tuck the pelvis up towards you, so the hip bones kind of move in towards the body. The bottom gently squeezes, and the lower back kind of picks up off the floor, and then it rolls itself down. See if you can vertebrae by vertebrae roll it back down. Hands just alongside you. And again, gently curl. Now you can incrementally get a bit bigger, but perhaps try not to go any higher than the mid back, so like kind of bra strap area, and roll it down. There's no particular speed to this, just what you can feel. Now notice there are points, particularly if you really slow it down, how the muscles start to judder. The body kind of judders at certain moments. Those are the moments we want to go really slow, because what's happening is you're finding the imbalances in the body, and something else wants to take over to do this. And you're using the muscles you've asked the body to use. And they're going, no, we always use this. And so we want to use particular core stability muscles just to gently lift and lower. Okay. Now, the next one, we're going to lift to bra strap area, and you're going to stay there. You're going to pause and you're going to breathe. You want to squeeze the bottom gently to keep yourself supported. If you need to lower, please do lower. Otherwise, see if you can just hold on for another 5 seconds. If you need to move the feet further in for the next round, then we'll do that. Okay, lower, rolling yourself all down. Good. And immediately start taking a few lifts in that. So move straight back into those gentle lifts, little roll ups to bra area, or even lower and roll down. Little curls, mobilization of the vertebrae. Good. Okay. Keep moving. And then the next one, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to pause for 30 seconds. Good. So if you feel the feet are a little bit far away, you need some more support from the ground. Remember that we're pushing from the floor. We're not just holding ourselves suspended because we don't have those kind of extra suspension straps to keep us up. We've only got our feet. So notice how that feels now when you get aware of that, and you're going to roll yourself down and then start rocking again. Good. Is the body behaving a little bit differently now? Little movements up to that bra strap area. And on the next one, we're going to go back into that half lift. So that you kind of want the pubic bone to be lower than the thighs here. We don't want to have lifted into a massive one, so we're just holding it. Glutes are switched on, feet are pushing down to the floor. Perhaps it's harder or it's easier. Know what's going on. Just another 10. 9. 8. 4. 3. 2. And slowly lower yourself all the way back. Drop to one side. Give yourself a gentle roll. Knees into the chest if you want. Move it around, see how that feels. Now, if you've got a strap or an elastic band, please use it. Sorry, I didn't bring any today there. Well, I did, but I didn't get them out of the car. Forgive me. So what we'll do is, if you haven't got one like me, you're going to just roll a blanket or a sock or a jumper up, put something else behind your head, perhaps. And if you haven't got anything else right behind the head and you need it, just keep one knee bent, okay? Bring the right knee into the chest and lengthen the right leg, sorry, up to sky. If you're quite happy with the left leg out, I have to say hamstrings are feeling a little tight today. So let's go easy on them. Let's not be really sore for the rest of the week. By the end of the 6 weeks, as you already know, it will all feel quite natural. In fact, by next week, you'll have eased into it again. So we're taking those micro bends in the knee, remember? Both hands on the strap if possible, just so the shoulders are working evenly. So bring the elbows slightly bent in towards you. That's it. And just tiny little bends with the knees so you find that little shape. but we're working the hamstrings. Good. Great. Lovely. Super. And then lengthen the heel up to the sky. Lengthen it out. Keep it still. Just for a breath or two. Super. And then take the strap in. If you've got the right foot in the blanket or the strap, bend that right knee, take the sides of the blanket or strap into the right hand, and take the left knee into the left hand. So both knees are bent off the floor, and we're going to straighten the right leg or the leg in the strap. Now, both knees are going to go apart, but you want them equidistant. So the right leg is not hanging lower, okay? The way to check that is the dimples in the lower back. Get really aware of your dimples in the lower back. You know, you've got those two little dimples in the pelvic, back of the pelvis. You can feel them when you're lying on the floor, or just be aware of that back of your pelvis so that they're even. The right leg is heading away from you. It's long. Lengthen that leg out, lengthen the knee out. That's lovely. Lovely old extension there. Super. And then bend that right knee, bring the legs back together, pop the left foot on the floor, take the strap in the left hand, so switch the strap across. Now the leg now carries across to the left side. So you're crossing the legs, thighs meet, left knee goes to the right side, right leg goes to the left side. We're not collapsed, but we're lengthening that right heel away from you. And you can feel that in the back of the leg, right? You okay? Good. So you're lengthening that away. Now drop that right hip back to the floor. That's it. So you might need to rotate the ankle or the foot to do that. So you're dropping that right hip. Use the right hand on the front of the hip. That's it, to push it back down. So take it onto the hip bone perhaps to encourage it. Back down to the floor. Good. Lovely. Bring that back in. Okay, so next week we will use straps to do this. You can lose the strap here though, because we haven't all got them. And we're going to take that right ankle onto left knee, figure 4 pose, like your pigeon pose. Now, the trick with the pigeon pose on your back is to ensure that both sides of the pelvis are evenly down on the floor. So let's work with gently drawing both sides or both dimples down to the floor, and then encouraging that right hip to rotate slightly. And then you can draw the left leg in if you want to clasp behind the back of the left side, please do. Now, if you find this particularly tough, yeah, it's really worth going to the wall and putting that left foot on. Good. I'm sure everyone's feeling it a little bit today. It'll ease off. It's good to feel a bit tight, means you've been using it. So we need that tightness. We need that strength. We don't really want to ever lose that. That's what we're building more of. Okay, but with the strength comes the flexibility. Okay, let's bring that back. Re-grab your blanket, hop both feet on the floor, give the hips a wiggle. You can even stretch the legs out and notice the difference between the two sides. That's always quite interesting at this point. And then bend both knees, left foot goes in. And we start again with the micro bends of that left knee. And notice how quickly on this side that the shakes build up. We're not avoiding those shakes. The shakes are good. Working into the muscles, and we're releasing tension. Little tiny micro bends with the knee and lengthening. That's it. And then let's lift that heel up to the sky. Soften the shoulders. Have the shoulders got involved here? Pesky shoulders. Okay, take the strap into the left hand, bend the left knee, and bring the right knee in to meet the right palm. And then lengthen the left leg away and open the right knee. So we're equidistant. It's really easy just to kind of tilt onto the left side here. We want to kind of look between the legs and make sure the V is perfect. It's not a little bit wider to the left side. Lengthen that left heel away. Great. Bring them in, bend the knees, bring them in together. Drop the right foot to the floor, strap into right hand, and let's take the legs a little bit crossed in front of you. So the thighs meet. Okay, and turn the toes back towards the face. And there you feel the pleasure of this pose. Good, dropping the hip back to the floor though, that left hip, remember. So use the hand to encourage that hip to go back down. Good, and bring it back. And let's do figure 4 pose. So lose the strap, outside edge of left ankle goes on to right knee. Now, everyone is slightly different in this pose. So, and everybody's sides are different in this pose as well. So you want to get the most you can out of it. It's a really nice one to practice a couple of times a day. When you found yourself rolling quite naturally around on the floor, and you might finish with this. Good. Lovely. Last breath. And release it down. Okay, good. And once more, give the hips a bit of a shuffle. Lengthen the legs out. Just notice the sides. Notice if there's any stiffness anywhere. And let's plant the feet back down on the floor. Once more, long edges of the brick between the legs. Now, we will do this with a strap another day. But if you've got a long bit of blanket, if you can make it a bit longer, if you've got a strap, feel free to kind of use the D-ring and strap it around you. But otherwise, I'm just literally going to get a blanket and put it around my legs, and then sort of tuck it in so that it's between the block and it's not going to, you know, I've got a bit of pressure on the outside edges of my legs. Don't spend too much time with the strap. I'll leave more time to do it next week. It's a bit tricky, but all we're doing here is you just want a bit of sensation. It is better with a strap because then you can feel a bit more tension against the outside edges of the legs. Bend the knees, feet are planted, heels come in towards the hips a little bit. But then you want to make sure that the hips are rolling up towards the rib cage so the lower back feels quite supported by the floor. And then drop, and find neutral. So you know we can either overdo it by really pushing the back down, or we can find there's quite an arch. Let's just draw those hips a little bit towards the rib cage and then soften. And we should find something that feels quite comfortable there. And from that position, we're just going to soften the legs out. I know it's hard because we haven't got a tight strap against the edges of the blanket. So the outside edges of the knees kind of come up, but the block is not dropping. That's the trick here. So you're just kind of letting the knees slightly fall away from the block, but we're not dropping the block. So they're not kind of collapsing out, is what I'm trying to get at. So in a neutral pelvic position, just opening gently, and then we're going to squeeze the block. So you draw the knees towards each other. Gently squeeze the block. And then again, soften and let the knees gently come towards the outside edges. And then squeeze the block. And then one more time, just let those knees gently drop to the outside edges without dropping the block. How far can they go without actually dropping the block? And then draw them in last time. Squeeze the block. Really squeeze all the way up to the inside, boy. And then let's release. Let's just, before we release, let's roll to one side. So we're not just kind of dropping the block. Roll to one side with the block between the knees. Plot the block so it's flat between the knees. That's it. Take the hands out in front of you, palms together. So like we're doing that open book or drawing chalk circles. I've gone to my left side, so my right hand is on top. And I'm going to trail my fingers over my head, all the way behind me. Let the chest open. The head can follow. Now, if my fingers can stay on the floor, happy days, but don't worry if they can't. Don't overstress that shoulder. And then draw those fingers all the way back to meet the hand. Good. One more round with that side. Let's just take it open. And from that open position, just leave it there. Now notice if there's any tightness in those shoulders. Let's bring the knees in and roll the knees up and take them to the other side. And then here, we're going to slide those left fingers all the way to meet the right. So you've got that closed book. And again, open it out, take the chest, face, shoulders with you. Is it feeling a bit tighter than it was? Or is it a bit easier this side? And then close the book. Good. And once more, open it out. Bring the knees slightly in. You can use the toes where you need to. Bring those knees back into the chest. Pop the feet down there. Pop the feet down the floor. Keep squeezing the block. Draw the lower back into the floor and pop the feet down if you can at the same time. If that doesn't work, take the block away and obviously 1 foot at a time. Using a little bit of core. Good. And then you're going to lengthen those legs out. Let the block go. Move the hips side to side. Grab any jumpers, anything you need. If you'd rather be seated, you can come up seated, but just before you do, plant the feet and let's take a little bridge. Just a full bridge, so you're just planting. Once you've got your jumpers on, once you're all ready, just take one big old bridge all the way up to the top. Again, if you've got any neck issues, you're not going to go all the way up to the top, you're going to stick on your shoulder blades. So just to the shoulders, lengthening those knees away, really extending through the thighs, lovely, and then rolling it all the way back down. And let's take a pause there. So if you know that your back doesn't like you stretching your legs out, keep the knees bent, you plant the feet. Otherwise, lengthen the legs out. It's entirely up to you. Use your blanket over the top of you. Make sure you're not going to get cold. We're not here for very long. But it is, Shavasana is one of the most important parts, one of the most important poses, practices when you do yoga, because to learn how to be still is so hard. Let's take your awareness to the breath. Let's do a gentle breath practice in your Shavasana to keep you present. So that awareness of the breath as it comes in through the nostrils, over the top of the lip. And it warms up, it moves through the passages inside, and it leaves a warm flow of air back over the top. Aware of any distractions that come and noticing just for what they are, distractions. And next breath, slightly deeper. All the way down to the bowl of the pelvis. Feel like the whole body's lengthening as you do so. And exhale. Begin to wiggle and stretch. Just gently wake yourself up. Moving and reawakening back to Thursday morning, stretching, releasing, and when you're ready, rolling onto one side. If you're not already, pushing yourself up to seated. Come and sit for a moment, noticing how you feel after the first session back, after a bit of a break. Thank you all very, very much for coming, and good to get going again. So